In the 1950s, millions of Americans wanted to reach the ultimate fame of being a Major League Baseball player. Baseball was the most popular sport in America, with players like Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and Ted Williams representing the best. The players were phenomenal on the field. Their home runs and stolen bases were cheered in every park and newspaper. However, discrimination was still a very harsh and acceptable practice, especially against Latinos. After Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball in 1947, Roberto Clemente, a Puerto Rican, stepped up to bat. He not only broke through racial barriers, but he rose even higher and showed the rest of the world what it is like to contribute yourself to the people that are less fortunate. From the mid-1950s to the early 1970s, Clemente broke through racial barriers as a Hispanic and defied the stereotypical view of professional athletes by carrying out humanitarian efforts for the people in the Latin American countries and becoming a role model for rising young athletes. Almost every person living in Puerto Rico was impoverished due to the high unemployment during the mid-1900s. The income of an average United States citizen was 5 times higher than that of a Puerto Rican. Roberto Clemente's father earned 45 cents a day, cutting sugarcane. He also ran a small store that sold food to the workers, as well as owned a rental car to bring in the supplies. When Clemente wanted a bike, he got a job paying 3 cents a day, working for his neighbor to get milk. Clemente grew up in a disciplined but loving and caring home, with his father always reminding him to be proud of what you are, work hard, pay your own way. As Clemente grew older, he found his first love of baseball, and no one could stop him from playing.
His career started after a scout for the Caguas Rio Piedras first saw him play and offered him a position on the team. Clemente rose to the top. Finishing the season with a .396 batting average, he led the Puerto Rican League in batting with an 18-game hitting streak. When the team would celebrate with beer, Clemente would drink milk because he was underage. 4 major league teams were so impressed with his work, they all recruited him to be on their team. After committing to the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Milwaukee Braves offered him a higher bonus, but he didn't lose his loyalty to the Dodgers. The Dodgers tried to hide Clemente when scouts came to their games, but the Pittsburgh Pirates knew about Clemente and didn't fall for their trap. They eventually signed him in 1954, where he made a new home for the rest of his life. Living in Puerto Rico and living in Pittsburgh were drastically different. In Puerto Rico, there was no separation between blacks and whites. He was not used to segregation and was upset by the fact there was any at all. For example, Roberto and Vera Clemente went to buy furniture for their new house, but the salesman, seeing that the Clementes were Puerto Ricans, tried to cheat them from their good quality furniture because he thought it was too expensive. When the salesman found out he was speaking with Roberto Clemente, he quickly changed his view of him and offered him the same furniture as everyone else. Clemente refused to buy from a store that didn't respect him the same as everyone else because of his heritage. A lot of racist remarks and even threats were made towards Clemente.
Roberto Clemente did incredible work on the field that outshined the negativity towards him. His playing was aggressive, but controlled, and he was one of the finest defensive outfielders, with a very strong throwing arm. He won 12 Gold Glove awards and an MVP. Then, at age 38, he got his 3,000th career hit and got a standing ovation by the crowd and everyone in the stadium. Fans and players from all over admired his hard work and his unique style. Clemente's efforts on the field were equaled by those off the field. He loved to help out everyone whenever he could, especially those from his hometown. One of his 3 goals in life was to build a recreation center in San Juan, because he never had one when he was a kid. He was a hero in Puerto Rico for giving back to the barrio. He was involved with helping children and younger Hispanic players who were new to the MLB struggling with the culture and lifestyle in America. He filmed an anti-drug commercial and then translated the script to Spanish for those who couldn't speak English.
He would often say, if you have the chance to accomplish something that will make things better for people coming behind you, and you don't do that, you're wasting your time on this earth. Roberto Clemente was always proud of his Puerto Rican heritage, but writers and reporters held it against him. Reporters would call him a Puerto Rican hot dog and make his English sound worse and improper on paper than it really was. They were blocked from seeing the truth about him and seeing his true colors, and the reporters tried everything they could to get to him by using terms like chocolate-covered islander and dusky flyer. Clemente became the first Puerto Rican to win the National League MVP award and 2 World Series MVP awards. He was proud he could prove this, yet while being a Puerto Rican. After the Pirates won in the 1971 World Series, Clemente slipped out into the depths of Pittsburgh. After a few hours of celebrating with his fans, he finally felt accepted and free from prejudice. He didn't believe in the colors of one's skin, but the character of a person. He believed that if everyone worked hand in hand, there would be heaven on earth.
Then to have to learn the language and communicate with your teammates, most of who spoke English, that just created a barrier that he had to overcome. And I don't know if a lot of people couldn't have done that. It would have affected their ball playing and their motivation and all kinds of factors that come into being the person he was. And he never lost track of who he was or where he came from. That love for the game, as I do. And I can't think of a better role model.
Managua, Nicaragua was hit with a devastating earthquake that tore the land to shreds in December of 1972. More than 20,000 people were killed and thousands were injured. Clemente had fallen in love with the community in Managua not long before the earthquake hit, and he was one of the first to help. He called for fellow Puerto Ricans to help by donating supplies and money. Clemente led the supply effort for Nicaragua. He worked around the clock to gather the food, medicine, and other supplies. He soon found out that the supplies were being taken away from the people by the Nicaraguan government and put on the black market. He decided to go himself to ensure the delivery. On the day he boarded the plane, Vera was unsure of the safety of the plane and asked Clemente not to leave. He was sure the plane was safe, but after the plane wasn't able to take off, he told her, "If there is one more delay, we'll leave this for tomorrow." There were no more delays. Then, on New Year's Eve at 9:23 a.m., Clemente's plane crashed into the ocean, only a mile and a half away from shore. There were no survivors. The month before leaving, Clemente had a dream about his death, and throughout his life he said he would die in water.
Claro que después de lo que él hizo, para nosotros era un héroe.
After what he did or planned to do, to us he was a hero.
Como digamos, él murió por llevar esa ayuda a Nicaragua.
He died to bring in resources and supplies to Nicaragua.
Roberto Clemente changed the stereotypical view of athletes from a famous superstar that doesn't care about the needs of people to a humanitarian that lives and dies for his cause. There are 40 schools and 200 parks named after him, from Puerto Rico to Germany. The Roberto Clemente Award is given every year to a baseball player who displays the most humanitarian efforts and truly understands the value of helping others. Yadier Milana followed very close in Clemente's footsteps when he won the award in 2017 for his relief efforts to help Puerto Rico after a devastating earthquake struck. Cleveland Indians pitcher Carlos Carrasco recently won the Roberto Clemente Award in 2019.
The Roberto Clementes mean a lot to me because pretty much everyone know what he did for his community outside his country. So he was an unbelievable player. Then just to see him what he did, so it's made me feel so excited, so follow the steps.
Roberto Clemente left an imprint in everyone's hearts, with his compassion as strong as his throwing arm. Growing up in a less fortunate home made his heart soft and tender. He dedicated his life to helping others. He broke segregation barriers. He fought back with his hustle, his heart, and love for the game. He changed the stereotype of the self-absorbed athlete to a humanitarian. His body will probably not be recovered from the ocean, but his example soars high above the crowd like a home run ball.